Snake Oil is the title of a story by Scott M. Peterson, who talked to me on the phone a little bit earlier. Actually, it was about 15 to 9, so a lot earlier, I guess. But it's not midnight yet, and usually I don't get to Scott Peterson's story until after midnight, so that's good. Here it is. Scott Peterson writes, Chinese immigrants got the short end of the stick in frontier America. Most of them came here as laborers, bound to 5-year indentures. The Chinese always got the shittiest jobs. And when the end of the day arrived, there were no weekends back then. They needed something to soothe their aching joints. What they had in the old country was liniment made from serpents. Water snake oil is water snake oil. RICHIN, icosapentaenoic acid. Icosapentaenoic acid, EPA, which had strong analgesic and anti-inflammatory properties. So it worked pretty darn well in China. But there were no Chinese water snakes here. That spelled opportunity for a Texas businessman named Clark Stanley, who took the Chinese recipe up a notch with oil from western diamondback rattlers, thus earning himself the name Rattlesnake King and making himself very rich in the process. Stanley was dead and buried half a century before any successor came along. That's Texas radio show host Alex Jones, born in 1974. Wow, he's that young? He doesn't look very healthy for being that young. He looks like a crazy, sort of pumped-up football of a man. Jones peddles a remedy called colloidal silver on his website. Like Stanley's snake oil, Jones' concoction is said to cure everything from hay fever to AIDS. He has sold boatloads of it, too, thanks to a radio show known as InfoWars, where, as Jones says, there is a war on for your mind. The Rand Corporation confirmed that recently in a 10-page report titled The Weaponization of Information, that paper identified the content of certain media outlets as pseudo-news and called for Uncle Sam to respond, which seems to have already happened in an online listing of bullshit artists called propornot.com, P-R-O-P-O-R, propornot.com, including InfoWars. Prop or Not was lauded by the Washington Post, who in turn was attacked for publishing it around Thanksgiving of 2016. Nevertheless, the Washington Post never retracted it. Wouldn't you know it, that list has never been taken down. If anything, it just gets longer, revealing an absolute arsenal of weapons in Alex Jones' war, one he appears to be on the wrong side of. In spite of the counterattacks, Prop or Not has helped to turn the tide of that war. That's evident at oh-so-neutral Alexa, a website that ranks the popularity of all websites, including itself. And surprisingly, the whole shooting match at Prop or Not has taken a gigantic nosedive since Donald J. Trump's inauguration. While traditional media outlets have kicked their digital asses, here's what the paper tigers did to them. And here in the article are tables of newspapers and Prop or Not websites with their Alexa rank and percent change in Google Ads revenue. The newspapers listed are New York Times, The Guardian, Daily Mail, Washington Post, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Houston Chronicle, The Sun, Los Angeles Times, and Asahi Shimbun, which that sounds kind of cute. Asahi Shimbun sounds like a kind of little dog, it would be like a Japanese corgi, with a little tiny little round tail that looked like a puff thing. Or not. And the websites listed are RT, Drudge Report, Sputnik News, InfoWars, WikiLeaks, Global Research, Rents, R-E-N-S-E, Rents, Veterans Today, Truthout.org, and Consortium News. Every day I go to Truthout and read there. Online editions of daily newspapers have increased in popularity since the 2016 U.S. general election. Thanks to actual budgets, these companies hired professional journalists to report real news, all while their rinky-dink online competitors ran clickbait, sensational pseudo-news that lined their pockets with Google ad revenue for about 5 minutes. The average rank in this group is 832, while the average change is plus 8% over the past 3 months. The website at Prop or Not lists 200 online bullshit artists. I picked out the 10 most often cited for this list. Leading newspapers didn't like what these narcissistic fuckwits did last year, so they launched a counterattack, connecting each piece of malarkey to every website that published it and then running it on the front page. The average rank in this group is a lowly 16,944. That's a bigger number means rank much lower. That's what they mean by that. Well, the average change is minus 25% over the past 3 months. Translation, Alex Jones is losing the war. Big time. If ever there was an Alamo, it would be located in cyberspace at theshiftnow.com. Its Davy Crockett would certainly be libertarian webmaster Doug McKenty, who doesn't trust newspapers like the Washington Post, favoring zines off the prop or not list instead. I actually prefer propaganda, McKenty told me. That's obvious in his Alexa ranking, which at this writing is non-existent. Another holdout is Philip Baldwin, a 70-year-old registered Democrat who lives in Ukiah. He suggested that I check out a story that prop or not was baloney. So I did. That story got run at theintercept.com, a website that wasn't listed at prop or not. I used to read The Intercept, but grew wary of its distinct pro-Russian selection bias. And if Edward Snowden hadn't come along, I'm not sure that anybody would know about theintercept.com. That website is ranked on Alexa at 7,942, just under WikiLeaks, while falling 0.02% over the past 3 months. Nonetheless, it would only be fair to ask Mr. McKenty to see how serious he was about his love affair with propaganda. Mr. Baldwin, too. So I posted some an article to ask for the best response to propaganda. I didn't hear back from either on that one, prompting me to throw out some red meat with a publication entitled American Libertarians and Russia Propaganda Outlets, A Bizarre Love Story, followed by another, Why Libertarians Are Basically Cult Members. That was published at alternate.org, a zine that McKenty had cited in support of his views earlier, but he must have had bigger fish to fry that day because that's the last I ever heard from Doug about political ideology. The best McKenty could do is a mouthful of mumbo-jumbo about how all sources are created equal and how he never considers the source when reading something on RT, Russia Today. I tried reminding him of the story about the little boy who cried wolf, as well as what became of him for lying. As a matter of fact, liars never really change. That kid was dog shit before the wolf ate him, and dog shit afterward. So it's good to know who the liars are, just to keep the dog shit off your shoes. Alex Jones' battleship sailed smack into a reef over his business model. The FDA has long declared that colloidal silver isn't safe or effective for treating any disease or condition. In 2013, a man nicknamed Papa Smurf died at 62 after being colored permanently blue from taking the stuff. Nice. Then in May of 2017, BoingBoing.net reported that Jones' InfoWars website isn't a media empire, it's a snake oil empire. The same article estimated that Jones earned a whopping $10 million a year from his Silver Bullet brand of colloidal silver. Since then, his miracle cure has slithered its way to the back pages of InfoWars, only to be replaced by InfoWars' Life Survival Shield X2, a 1 fluid ounce bottle of iodine supplement for $39.95. All of Jones' remedies are produced and certified by, quote, Dr. Edward F. Group III, who turns out to be a Houston chiropractor who never finished college. Yeah. Clark Stanley got his comeuppance 100 years ago. Like Alex Jones, he decided to scrimp on content. When the newly formed FDA did a chemical analysis on his product, they found it contained no snake oil at all. Stanley only got fined $20 for the swindle, but became forever associated with something he failed to deliver. Snake oil. Well, that was interesting. I wonder if the Doug McKenty in the article is the Doug McKenty who used to be a board member at KZYX, who I've talked to on various occasions, and who I think the last time I read anything he wrote, I haven't been to his website yet because I forgot all about it, although I really should go there and check it out. He wrote something about how vaccines were bad. He was on the side of being anti-vaccine in the MCN discussion listserv for a while.